So this is folks inside the organization. We really hope this isn't going on, but an insider threat doesn't have to be malicious. It can be accidental or unintentional. Regardless, it happened within the organization. These are probably the hardest to defend against because we're kind of getting into a little bit of just human nature and people that need to be trained and people not paying attention to policies and procedures. So that's where training comes in. So accidental and unintentional insider threats, that's a lot of times training and then configuration of the environment. The one that in my opinion is really difficult to defend against is that malicious. If somebody intentionally wants to do the practice harm and they have access, that's not great for a number of reasons. There are some things you can do. Principle of least privilege, making sure everybody has cybersecurity training, incident response, looking at access logs. If you've got somebody with malicious intent and they're a scheduler, and then all of a sudden they're logging in the billing side of your EHR or accessing patient records in an area they're not supposed to be in. We should flag those things and look at that kind of stuff and ask some questions. A lot of times, the malicious part of it, unfortunately, comes from the IT side, internal IT, and we'll address that in a later webinar about some things you can do around that. So insider threats, just hire good people and trust but verify. If somebody seems to be accessing things they shouldn't, then a conversation is probably going to be helpful there.
One more thing I would add to that is this can become a problem over time. So a lot of times when companies are starting out, it's kind of all hands on deck, sort of everybody does everything. And so, everybody has access to everything. It's kind of a flat
Right.
file system. And so, just early on, it's important to have a partner, to at least think about how you're setting up your systems, who has access to what. And as companies get bigger and bigger, this can become a problem because if you started out small and everybody had access to everything, and you get a little bigger and then all the employees have access to all of the sensitive data, that can be a huge deal. And it's not something people think about a lot of times, right? Because they're just thinking, well, they're employees, they're in the office, they're good people. But, and I'm not saying that they're not, but even if they have access and they click on the wrong link that somebody emailed them, so it can
Yeah.
be unintentional as well. But that's a big part of this. It's just kind of like, constantly assessing the way things are set up and making sure that people don't have access to the wrong stuff. You may not even have a way to track it. Edward, you mentioned, checking to see what people are looking at. There may not even be a system in place to do that. So a huge problem.
You're 100% right. As organizations grow, everybody was an admin of everything and did everything, and we just kept with that model. So now someone that literally just needs scheduling access has access to everything because we didn't spend the time to set up, role-based access controls or what have you in the EHR